Humans sleep. We need rest. But right now, models like Anthropic's Claude Mythos are autonomously scanning through millions of lines of decades-old operating systems, identifying deep, hidden software flaws, and generating fully functional exploits without any human guidance. Open-source models like GLM 5.1 are writing code to build functional Linux desktops from scratch, complete with browsers and audio players. Other systems like LPM 1.0 are rendering hyper-realistic digital avatars that process and express subtle human body language in real time. To understand exactly where this is heading, we have to ignore the science fiction tropes and look strictly at the economics, specifically a framework called the cost-to-capability ratio. This chart plots two variables. First, AI capabilities. As algorithms handle complex tasks, this line steeply climbs. Second, cost. Thanks to efficient compression like RotorQuant and Microsoft's May suite, the expense plummets. When these lines cross, algorithms become smarter and cheaper than a salaried employee. Past this threshold, paying a human being to sit at a desk and process information is no longer a rational business decision. It becomes a mathematical liability. Imagine you are the CEO of a company with 1,000 employees. Most of your staff handles data entry, customer service, and basic research. A software vendor walks in and pitches you a new system. They offer you an autonomous agent, like Skyclaw, that sets up its own virtual desktop, takes instructions via text message, and executes complex multi-day research tasks. It works 24 hours a day, it never complains, and it costs a fraction of what you pay your junior staff. You might hesitate because you value your employees, but across town, your direct competitors buy the software. Their overhead drops by 80%, and their productivity skyrockets overnight. They immediately lower their prices to capture your customers. At your next quarterly meeting, your board of directors looks at your shrinking market share. They give you a choice: eliminate the human payroll to match the competitors' margins, or step aside so they can hire a CEO who will. Mass layoffs rarely happen because executives are malicious. They happen because market pressures dictate that a company either adopts the most cost-efficient labor or goes bankrupt. You negotiate a middle ground. You put the junior staff on performance improvement plans, giving them one last chance to outperform the software. A month later, 90% of them are gone. But the pressure doesn't stop at the bottom of the org chart. Once the entry-level work is automated, the necessity for middle management disappears. Human supervisors are replaced by perfectly coordinated networks of AI agents that assign tasks, track progress, and optimize workflows without a single human meeting. The logic then climbs to the executive suite. A specialized high-level algorithm can monitor every single operation inside the company, analyze global market trends, and execute strategies with mathematical precision. When a digital system can monitor performance and adjust strategy flawlessly without sleep or bias, human participation at the corporate level becomes a liability. If we apply this corporate mechanic to the entire global economy, a very specific historical pattern begins to emerge. Economists have long studied a phenomenon called the resource curse. Nations that sit on massive reserves of oil, gold, or diamonds frequently suffer from extreme poverty and corruption. Extracting these physical resources requires heavy machinery, but very little local labor. The profits flow directly into the hands of a few corporations or oligarchs, while the general population is locked out of the wealth generation process. We are watching the birth of the intelligence curse. Data and algorithmic processing are becoming the ultimate extractable resources. Only this time, the machinery bypasses both human physical labor and human cognitive labor entirely. We end up with a closed-loop economy. Massive tech firms build data centers, generate extreme compute power, and sell those digital services to other algorithmic companies. The gross domestic product climbs, corporate balance sheets look incredibly healthy, productivity metrics soar. The major indices hit all-time highs because the companies listed on them are operating with almost zero human overhead. Yet outside that closed loop, the middle class collapses. Without the leverage to demand wages, consumer spending dries up. The unemployment rate rapidly climbs past 10, 15, and eventually 25%. You have the poverty and joblessness of the Great Depression happening simultaneously with the greatest explosion of corporate wealth in history. We are witnessing the permanent breaking of the social contract. For the first time, global wealth generation has decoupled from the human labor that once drove